My cabbages! Low, low, man. Ah, my cabbages!
What is up, everybody? And I only partially scuffed this one. What is going on? Of course, I'm 15, 20 minutes late. It's all good. It's all good. We're here today in Legal Minds, where we teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, covering the Ramsey Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali criminal saga from front to back. And today we have the final chapter. We're saying goodbye to Hank Yu today. We're all going to be very, very sad in the chat. In fact, we're gonna put up a poll right now because I want to know. I want to know, will you be sad to say goodbye to Hank? Yeah, yes or no? Yes or no in the chat. I want to know who's going to be shedding some tears over this one. Also, what's up to people over there on Locals and everybody else? And I want to say a special thank you to Tank Rat, who before the show dropped 50 legal mindset memberships.
Emotional damage.
And a little
emotional cabbage.
Thank you, Tank Rat. Appreciate you. A very base supporter of the channel, longtime supporter of the channel, and all the coverage I do, not just Ramsey Khalid Ismail. I appreciate all of you here today. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into what I think this is the final chapter for Hank. We're going to watch a little bit of the video. Now, I did do a fast facts. I actually recorded it just before this. In fact, the delay of game was on the fact that it wasn't uploading well. It took a little bit. So that's going to go after this. So you'll be redirected to a shorter version. So if you come in late or whatever else, and we're still streaming and you want to catch up, whatever, go to the fast facts version. You can also forward the fast facts version over, but this will be the only version where I am watching the video. So we are not going to watch the whole thing. It is an hour and 48 minutes or so. We're going to watch like a relevant 5 minutes, maybe, or 6, because of that whole interview, in my opinion, only about 5 minutes is relevant. And we're going to go to the relevant 5 minutes, guys. So we'll deal with that today. Of course, it is the K-Town Social Club. Mr. Kim was the interviewer. He did a great job being neutral and keeping a straight face, even at times in which a lesser interviewer would have laughed or would have made, or, would have done something else. So I think he did a good job being neutral and just being the question asker and just going through the questions and asking. So hats off to him for that. And he also reached out to me for some questions to ask Hank, and he asked the questions. So he asked both of the questions. So my questions are in there, and we're going to watch my questions and the answers to my questions. So very good stuff there. Very good stuff. Patrick L said late and Mr. Lawyer Man. Hey, yes, of course. I'm still here though. Rigo says, so is the stream starting late because of tech scuff, or is it because you're enjoying some other things Talon has to offer? Take this shower of gold and put it to use towards the archive fund. Thank you. I was enjoying the delicious food that Talon has to offer. I wanted to eat before stream because I was getting pretty hungry, so I had a nice some kebab and a hummus, which was very delicious. A lamb kebab, very delicious. Thailand has some of the best food, particularly Bangkok has some of the best food in the world. There's people from all over the world here that bring their delicious food, and I am one to eat. Although I'm down a couple kilos, which is good, but I still like good food. Neko Girl says, here's some for the scuff jar. Excited for another one of your live streams. Welcome. Glad you're here. Cindy Collins says, heck yeah, good way to spend my day. Overdue because they moved my induction to tomorrow. This makes me want to scream less. Well, good luck on the induction. Deep breaths, like find your center, find your center. Drink some water too. Like me, I need some water here. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine. LG at work says, I can't wait to see this. There you go. Oh, this is going to be fun. Kate Goebbels says, is this Hanky baby crashing out? I actually don't think he's crashing out. He actually sounds what I would call resigned, like he has accepted the fate of what is going to happen. Now, maybe not entirely, maybe not accepting the, public opinion and, the neutral opinions. He's still on the side of Johnny, clearly, but he's actually in this video, and we're going to watch part of the really relevant part, especially with the questions. He's accepted things that 6 months ago, 3 months ago, even a month ago, he was fighting and he was objecting to. And he pretty much is confessing, yeah, you know what? I think some of the stuff is right, and this is the way it is, and it's very interesting. Hikaru says, emotional cabbage, thank you. Gear up, let's go for a 10 AD, thank you. Martin Lee, HB says, had a long day today. Guess what I see when I open up YouTube? The Long Man, welcome. Crumpus for €5 says, enjoy some beers, playing some RuneScape, and listening to some legal analysis. Well, Prost, hope you enjoy those, and drink responsibly. Yokai Watch Braces said, I expected him to stay till the end. No. Circadian Izzy for 10 pounds says, does this mean Hank could potentially be getting away before RKI? Yes. Because that would have been golden. Speaking of gold, here's some. And how are we doing on that? We're almost halfway on the goal. Thank you, guys. The goal today is saying goodbye to Hank. It's Hank's goodbye party. Mr. Sticky Flippers, Gin Blades for 17 months says, stop. Cabbage time. Also, what happened to your sub number? It was 130K when I joined 17 months ago, but now it's 340K. It's awesome. Yeah, we're going crazy. I think we may hit 400K before, October, September. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're going crazy. Gyo Yang says, hey, Legal Mindset, what's a judgment again? Is RKI homeless? There's no judgment yet. A judgment is the final decision. So in a criminal case, it's whether you're guilty or not guilty and what you're sentenced to. In a civil case, it's the amount of money you would owe and any other punishments. King Lugia says, Malaysia has better yum food. Fight me. I'm not going to fight you. I mean, once again, it's personal opinion. Food is very personal to everybody. So in your opinion, it might be better. There you go. John Vasey says, it's about time Hank got it, even if not fully. Danny said, happy late 50th birthday, Mr. Legal Scuffinator. It is not my 50th birthday. I'm not that old. Rigo says, only one can deny things for so long. It'll be interesting how RKI acts in court now that Hank has resigned himself to the truth. I think Hank will still be there. Hank will still be the emotional support, but I think a lot of the financial support and other stuff may be scaling back, and I think they may see the end of the tunnel on this one. Nick Cliff says, bye-bye, Hank. Ruzer for $1.99. Boone says, TLDR for those of us who don't know much for Hank. So Hank, Hon Jung Yu is the top ally of one Ramsey Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, a very, very famous, you guys all know him, the nuisance streamer in South Korea, in Seoul, South Korea. Now, Hank is very interesting because he actually wasn't around for the beginning of the saga. He wasn't the one that really was there in the beginning. There were other streamers that were really with Johnny that were more relevant in the beginning. But what he has been here, and here's the interview with K-Town Social Club. You're sitting across the table. This happened a week or two ago. What he has been is the financial backer. Even in this interview, they call him like the sugar daddy or the sugar mama, whatever you want to call it, of Ramsey Khalid Ismail. And that even to himself, he actually says, yeah, that's not an inaccurate description. In fact, he talks about how much money he's paid. And that's a huge one. That is a massive one. And how much money he is out. It is a lot. It is a lot. It is not a little bit. It is a significant amount of money. So we'll get into that today here. Now, what I want to show you guys, of course, here's Hank. He's on the left-hand side, and here's the interviewer. And there's a lot of irrelevant stuff. Now, I know what you guys want me to do, and I know that you guys want me to go through the whole thing, go through all the salacious, juicy details. We're not going to be doing that today. Mostly because, and this is something I tried to talk about in my birthday stream, and I've talked about my other streams, I'm trying to be really hard. And this is something that sounds horrible. I'm trying to be really hard. Okay, let's try that one again. I'm trying very hard to be objective and to focus on the law and not the drama. And I feel like a lot of the Hank stuff is just drama and it's not relevant legally and it's a huge distraction. And in fact, many people who've been looking at this, trying to document the saga, people thinking about doing documentaries, etc., they look at this and they go, well, Hank really isn't Hank, at the end he's there, but he's really not that relevant to the Somali story, other than being a financial backer. So what do I think is irrelevant in this interview? what is the PP going to be hard? Yes, the PP is very hard right now. I do not need Viagra. I do not need Viagra. Getting hard midstream. Yeah, I know, guys. I know. There's pills for that. I know. Johnny and Hank are like ebony ivory. Sage. Okay. All right. So here we go. Majority of the internet is irrelevant. That's true. Majority of the interview between him and Mr. Kim here on the K-Town Social Club. Once again, this is pinned in the description. They're also tagged, so please go there and follow. We're not going to be sued like Ethan Klein sues Denims and Frogan for watching the whole thing. I want you guys to go support them, and I want you to get them some love. But the majority of it's irrelevant legally. It's irrelevant legally that he has a long history of mental issues. It is irrelevant legally about his backstory, what he did as a kid, his interfamily relationships, his relationship with his mom, his dad, his uncle, his grandpa, how he feels about them, his personal feelings. It is legally irrelevant what his combat prowess is. That is not at all relevant. He spent about 15 to 20 minutes talking about his combat prowess, quote unquote, which it doesn't matter. His time in prison and the things he did in prison, which we're not really going to go into. Once again, you can watch the whole thing and get into all the salacious details yourself. We're not going to talk about that because it's really not relevant, as well as his personal history, his, personal interests, if you know what I mean, and the details of what he does with those people, right? Men and women, right? That's not really relevant. Although there is one clip, and I'm debating whether I want to show it even, but he talks about, admitting, there's the Johnny in a dress thing. And he talks about, if Johnny put on makeup, etc., would you? And he says, yes. And it's like, all right, okay. So to the extent to which that was defamatory, right? Because a lot of this is only legally relevant because Hank admits to many speculations. He says these speculations are true. And what that means is this only damages his already bad reputation. His reputation only gets worse. His reputation was already bad. And that's a huge problem for a defamation lawsuit. But beyond that, he confesses to all the things. And because he confesses that he, does all these things in his personal life, that he's had a criminal history and he was behind bars. Really, if you admit to have been, behind bars or admit to being a criminal, etc., well, then that's not defamation because you say you've been a criminal. Once again, not hugely legally relevant to the Somali case. It doesn't change whether Ramsey goes to jail because Hank went to jail. Hank's not on trial here, right? He's not on trial. And there's one thing I want to bring up, which is actually interesting. There's something I actually agree with Hank on. And, I always try to be objective and find something I agree with somebody on, even somebody I really, really disagree. I still need to record a video. I have a Hassan take where actually, this is crazy. I agree with Hassan Piker. No, not entirely, just like partially. But I'm going to make that video later. Look out for that one with I agree with Hassan, sort of, right? That'll be the title. You'll see it. But I actually agree with Hank on something. And so one thing is people knew Hank as quote unquote the Asian Nazi, Han Jung-yu, Hank Yu. And he was known as Asian Nazi because obviously you can see the flags in the background. You can see he's wearing a colonial outfit. He also wore a Confederate flag. Confederate flag. He wore a Confederate uniform. Although he says that the South should have been, committed war crimes against, and he hates the South, etc. But he said he was doing that to troll people on the internet. He literally said, I was trying to troll liberals on the internet. And as much as I may not like certain things Hank has done, he's not wrong about the fact that trolling people on the internet, so long as you don't break any laws, let's be careful about that. So long as you're not breaking any laws, isn't illegal, right? So just making fun of people on the internet or triggering people is not illegal. And this applies whether you're on the right or the left or the center, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your religious beliefs, personal beliefs, political beliefs are, it doesn't matter. Trolling is not illegal if it's just trolling. The problem is when trolling goes beyond that and it starts breaking laws, such as privacy laws, there's threats involved, there's defamation involved. That's a different story. But if you're just trolling by posting a photo and it's a pretty innocuous photo, whatever, yeah, it's not illegal. Now, someone said in the UK it is. Okay, I guess we're talking about America. Okay? But generally, trolling is not illegal. Willie says you'd almost have to be a little insane plea to all this. I wonder if a judge will stimulate them to do this. Oh no. Olga, thank you. I got yours for 20. So if you go to my Twitter, same name, you'll see my screen recorded. Just do it. I'm not going to do it live. I cannot do it live, and I've been very, very busy. So please be patient with me. I appreciate your super chats though. Kusk Shugan for £5 says they seem like ebony and ivory and more like two cheeks to the same arse. Fundamentally different because they're more or less the same. I can agree and disagree with you. I think their personalities are similar, but the problem is that Hank is not charged with any crimes right now. So legally, there's not really much to talk about Hank because right now in Korea, he's not facing any charges yet. Now, that may change in the future, but right now, as of date, he's not. So we just have to operate where we're at right now. John says mental health only relevant when Somali took advantage. That's true. That can be true. And that's more of it's not a legal thing, but it's more of an interpersonal thing that perhaps Johnny took advantage of this guy's mental state. Because clearly, and I even have some compassion here. Clearly, this guy has had a troubled mental health history. Crafting Emily says, love your channel. Started dating an assistant DA. You helped me with the talking points. Oh, cool. Well, I hope thing goes well on your date. I mean, understand that lawyers are very stressed. They have a lot of things going on. They're a little bit crazy. Every lawyer is a little bit evil. So just understand that about lawyers and you'll be able to date one successfully. Sir Guard Pebble of the Nettle Soup says, if you want to state the UK at the moment, just watch the opening scene of the third Pirates of the Caribbean film. Okay, so let's get into the interview. Let's get into what was said. So I'm going to pull up the interview now. We're going to pull up K-Town Social Club, and we're going to pull up the things that were said on this lawsuit. Now, just so you guys know, this lawsuit is entitled Liberty Lawsuits and Lube, the Hank U Files. Liberty Lawsuits and Lube, the Hank U Files. So I'm going to start at the first legally relevant part, which is really the question that I asked about money. So we're going to get into that. That starts about 1 hour and 7 minutes in. So if you guys can, see this is how much irrelevant information. So literally I skipped over 1 hour of information because I thought it wasn't legally relevant. And I've watched all of it. I watched it, the whole thing. In fact, I watched it like 1.5 times because I watched it once through with no interruptions. And then I went back to find what I thought was special and what I thought needed to be talked about. So here we go. Here's him talking about money. This is my question. Yes, the title is Liberty Lawsuits and Lube.
Were inoculated by 30,000 Chinese.
All right. So anyway.
So yeah.
Anyway.
Philippines is a joke.
All right.
Man.
So this Johnny Somali thing, we did that interview with you in December.
Yeah.
That, to be clear, and I'm for the record, for those who don't know, these guys interviewed him in December, except for it wasn't just this one guy. There were like 2 or 3 other guys in the panel, and the other guys were like laughing. They had their mouths open. They were just like, they couldn't handle it. It was too much. And that interview was way more tame than this one. This one is way more wild. Way more wild.
The whole incident where getting jumped and all that, that was like September or October of last year? It's been almost a year, right?
Right.
So in the past, in all this period of time, you're basically Johnny's savior. You're like people say you're like his sugar daddy, So it's kind of like,
it was, yeah.
How much.
He even said, do you guys catch that? He said, you're kind of like his sugar daddy. And Hank says, I was, yeah. 2 important things there. He admits that he was, that's a fair description of him. And second, he uses past tense. So I am actually, based on the tone, I actually am led to believe that he is not financially supporting Johnny that much, or it's a different scale, or something's going on. You don't say was the way he said it. I think there's something going on right there. I think there's something going on. I'm picking up on something here.
Have you personally spent thus far helping and supporting your friend? I mean, it must be a lot of money. Food, alcohol, the rent, the increased utility costs, the inconvenience of, there's all these costs that are going to, plus legal fees, I'm sure. Like, how much have you spent so far?
I'm not sure, but I don't buy him alcohol. I've never bought him alcohol.
I see.
Yeah.
But would you say you spent...
I'm not, so out of his safety, I'm not going to mention where Johnny is right now.
Doesn't everyone already assume he's living with you?
Everyone
already knows he's there.
That's what they assume, and then let them keep keep assuming a bunch of things.
Okay, so let's talk about this statement. So there's a couple things here. First of all, he hasn't even spoke about the money and the total there. He says he didn't buy him alcohol. Okay, I believe it, because the alcohol's cheap in Korea. Johnny was probably getting some pennies from his supporters that could buy a like $1. Like you can get soju for like $1, under $1 in Korea. So like, okay, maybe Johnny bought his own soju. Okay, here's the big thing. He says that he moved out of his place. This is actually legally relevant. This is massively legally relevant. Do you guys know why? Chat. Tell me, chat. I'm looking at you right now, chat. Why would it be relevant if he moved out of Hank's place? Does anybody know? I want to know, because here's the thing. I'm not sure whether this is true or not. We cannot confirm this one way or another. This is his statement. Yes. Who said it there? Courts. Yes. He has to inform the court. Yes. Luna Eclipse. Yeah. Got that. M Bond got it right there. You guys got it entirely. The court has to know where he lives. Every single trial, he gets up and he has to say his address, whatever else. And if he doesn't update it, he's in contempt of court. And you need to legally inform the court anytime you move. That's your address of record. So if he's changed his address of record, that's a problem. And he hasn't reported that, because we haven't seen that, guys, because we know what happens in the court records, right? I know. He hasn't updated that. As of today, it can change. Maybe next week he does it. Maybe after they live that they do it, but he has to notify the court. Now, that isn't necessarily automatically public when it's filed, but he's going to have to say it in the courtroom, and that's going to come out. So if he's moved, he needs to say that. Otherwise, it's contempt of court, right? That's a very big issue legally in Korea. You do need that. Now, he might, just say the building, or might be able to get away with the street address and not the unit, but he'd have to say something in court. He can't say nothing. Gaxian gifted 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you, guys. And thank you for all the generous gifters today, like Tank Rat. Appreciate all you guys. I love you.
Yes.
Norbert Frolik for 10 Euro says, Guten Tag, Uncle Mindset. I am late, so watching at 1.5x speed. Grüße aus Deutschland und Prost over there, my German friends. Hope you guys are doing well, and you're staying nice and frosty, because I know it gets hot in Europe in the summer. The Pie-Eyed Piper says, I used to know Hank in those days, brought him Windows because he was broke. He wanted me to help him overthrow the Fed. Needless to say, he had a falling out. Yeah, and once again, people change over time. And look, I'm willing to give Hank the benefit of the doubt that he may have changed since his younger days, and he may have been more trolly when he was younger, and maybe now he's realizing the folly of his ways. That may be a thing. And also that he had some severe trauma. I do genuinely believe that, and to a certain extent, I even feel bad for him. But people change. People really change. People have reached out to me that knew Johnny Somali, that knew Ramsey, even a couple years ago, and they said Ramsey was completely different, right? People can change. Now, the good thing is, and I'm going to be a white pill on this, everybody has the capacity to change for good, but they need to make an internal decision inside themselves to change for the good. And they need to say, I'm doing this, and they need to have a real reason. And usually people have to hit rock bottom or have some sort of insight or whatever in order to change the way they are. It does. I know in my life, when I've improved myself or need to change, usually something really bad happened. And I ask myself, hey, why did this bad thing happen? And usually it's your own fault. And at a minimum, even if it's not your own fault, you can say, well, what can I do differently to make sure this doesn't happen again? And that's what a thoughtful person, an introspective person does. And I think that's appropriate. And I think maybe Hank is getting to that point. We haven't seen that point from Ramsey, but perhaps that's coming up as well. We don't know. I don't know. Patrick S. says, can Hank be charged with accessory since he's pretty much his financial backer? Also, we're in Evangelion. Of course I was. Masato forever. And Pen. But that said, look, so he's not charged now. Could he? Sure. But what I'm going to say going forward is I'm not going to spend infinite time on couldy, shouldy, wouldy. We've already said it a million times. Yeah, it's possible, but it hasn't happened yet. So until it happens, I'm not going to continue to speculate every single time about Hank. I'm really going to wait till they file. If they file, they file. If they don't, they don't. That's up to South Korean authorities. They've got the evidence. They've got the stuff. They're investigating other crimes as well. If Hank gets looped up in that, he does. If he does, he doesn't. We'll see. Armando Limon says, have you or another law tuber done a complete video about all of Hank's charges, conviction, and appeals in the U.S.? He was pro se. Yes. If you look back, I have a video on Hank. So if you want the history of Hank, you can go back. It's in my Somali files and my Somali playlist. I'll make sure it's there. I'll put this one in the playlist too. But yes, you can go back and look at my previous videos. Space Duck for $2.99. Thank you. Asian Dragon says, Andrew, you might need to put the PP for the law of contempt of court in South Korea one day because myth contempt of court sentence is a light sentence. That is very true. It is not a joke. Riamar gifted 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you.
Emotional cabbage.
Pilot Girl says, does Hank not have a minor trial check? Nope, he does not. He has nothing right now. As far as we know, there is nothing against Hank. Nothing. Other than some civil suits. So some of the Korean streamers, he sued them and they sued him back. But that's separate from this. It's civil suits. So we're not going to talk about civil suits. Willie Pierce for 189 says, I wonder what stimulated these charges. Well, I think it was Ramsey. Bronwyn said, watch part of this interview and you can tell the interviewer gets more and more uncomfortable as it goes on. He did a very good job keeping a straight face. A very, very good job keeping a straight face. So let's continue with this interview.
You know what? Yeah, I think I thought, because you got a nice place from what I've seen from videos, but I'm like, I don't know if that's good for two guys living together.
It's not.
And I figure like eventually you got to kick him out, put him in like a koshi one or something. You know, those tiny little.
Yeah.
He might be in a koshi one then.
Might be
nearby.
Yes.
So let me show you guys what a goshiwan is, just so you know, because you guys might not know Korean terminology. A goshiwan is like a very, very small room. It's like very, very tiny. Now, many rooms in Korea are tiny, but this is a goshiwan, right? So you see the bed is here, the desk is here, fridge there, you got the shower there. Like this is it, guys. This is it. It's sort of like a dorm room. And you can get these for like pretty cheap, but this is probably, I mean, that would be appropriate for Ramsey. A lot of the Airbnbs are like the Goshiwan. It's not horrible. Like, once again, it's clean, like whatever, right? Yeah. People say bigger than their old dorm room. Yeah. I mean, it's enough for one person. And frankly, that's plenty, you know? So, and there are ones that are smaller than that. There are rooms that are smaller than this for sure. But this is not that bad, right? But this is called a Goshiwan. That's typically what a Goshiwan is. So just so you guys know, Korean terminology, I know they're, you know, kind of kyopos, so they're throwing out like Korean terminology like it's very comfortable, but, you know, I want you guys to be educated here. Okay, let's continue.
Might be, yes.
Isn't that kind of where he was?
Well,
that time he got punched by that special forces guy. What's his name? Dalgun or something like that?
Okay, so he talks about Dalgun for a second, but what I want to jump ahead to here is I want to jump ahead to prison. So he talks about what happens if Johnny Somali goes to prison. This is my second question. Okay.
This is part of your legacy as, you know, you're like a free speech hero, right?
yes.
This is about liberty.
This is about liberty.
Okay. So if Johnny Somali goes to prison, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to then spend the rest of your life trying to get him out, you know, because it's liberty, it's free speech, or are you going to focus on something else?
Well, if Johnny Somali goes to prison, right, it's not going to be like years and years upon years. It's going to be like a few months. I'll be like,
okay, so this is a big one. This is a huge one. So essentially you see him conceding. He would have never 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. By the way, this is my question. That was my question that I gave to him, which he asked perfectly and he got him to answer it beautifully. And what I was looking for was this. He's already coping that it's going to be a couple months, but he's admitting this. A couple months ago, he said, there's no way, there's no chance, whatever. Now he's changed his mind. Now he's like, oh, it's going to be a couple months. Well, I mean, now you're saying it's a thing now. You know, remember, these guys were all saying that I was just making stuff up, whatever. But even the top ally of Johnny Somali is saying it is very likely it's going to at least be a couple months. Okay, well, then you're admitting it's a possibility. So you're no longer saying that's off the table, right? By the way, we hit the goal. Thank you for supporting Hank's goodbye party. By the way, will you guys be sad to say goodbye to Hank? 72%, 73% of you said no. Oh, guys, come on. Why are you so mean to Hank? Why are you so mean to Hank? And if you want to support the mindset team, which always does need support, unlike Ramsey, You can go over to the Ko-Fi link, which is pinned in the description, that supports the whole team. I do want to do a little special thank you for some members of my team. So if you guys want to feel so kind as to donate over there, that really appreciate it. It's going to go straight to the team, this goal, not just the SCT, which I have done a lot for, but the actual behind the scenes team that does stuff for all my topics, including the Somali stuff. So thank you guys. Okay, let's continue with this question. So he's admitted to a couple months.
All right, that part of my part is done. I'm moving to China.
So let's rewind that. Let's rewind that. Okay, watch this.
To prison, right? It's not going to be like years and years upon years. It's going to be like a few months. I'll be like, all right, that part of my part is done. I'm moving to China.
There you go. So he's already planning. You can see this right now, guys. He's already planning his exit to China. You see it in the way he says it. He's like, he wants to get this side behind him, right? This is why I'm saying it's goodbye to Hank. You can see in this voice, he's like ready to go to China. He's ready to get out. And we're going to talk about the timeline. He may not, he's planning to move to China so quickly, the case might not even be over. Especially if Johnny appeals it, especially if he fights it, whatever else, especially if new case comes in and he has to fight a separate trial. Like Johnny may be like still like fighting his court case at that point. We don't know right now, or it might be serving a sentence. But the point is, he's not going to be sitting there waiting for Johnny, right? He's not going to be sitting there waiting for Johnny. We're going to talk about him going to China and all this other stuff. I mean, one thing I'll say is this. If he's accurately reporting his felony, going to China may be pretty hard. So I don't know whether he pulled strings or he greased the wheel or if he hasn't applied yet, but it might be kind of difficult to get into a program he wants to study in China. It might be very difficult to do that with a felony. China tends not to like felonies. Quark for 5 Legal Mindset memberships and Hika for 5 as well, given all the haters.
Emotional damage.
Asian Dragon says, sorry, the petition is still out there from Max, aggravated sentence, and Andrew already explained on a serious crime like a deepfake. Yeah, I know. And once again, I don't think he's getting a minimum sentence. I think he's going to get some time. Mine is at least a couple years, but we'll see. Once again, we'll see. The judge has discretion. The judge could go lighter, right? But at this point, he's facing up to 12 years, which is significant time. Jay Hernandez for 10 says, thanks to you and the SCT. Thank you. And I am going to be thanking those guys profusely. They've been great on the Somali conviction team. Really good people and done a lot of work. Ramsey will have an extended stay in South Korea. Quantum Miscreant says, has Hank ever made it through a complete sentence without difficulty? I don't think I've seen him get past 5 words, so his brain's stalling out. You know, I don't want to mock him for that. You know, he's clearly had some troubles, and even I stutter and have words I jumble up. When I'm going too fast or thinking too fast, you know, that's not anything I knock him for. So it is what it is. I mean, he's had a lot of issues, and that's something that, you know, perhaps he can't control. So I have a little bit of empathy for that one. Samuel Robinson says, Andrew, can you cover the ID thing for YouTube and how it impacts us viewers? YouTube is going to be using AI to see who is an adult and child. That's all over the internet. And I'm going to have to cover this on a separate one of a digital ID separate. That's a separate thing I really want to cover, but I haven't had time because I have so many huge topics. Marshall Jed Cooper said, could RKI sue Hank for lifestyle accustomed to? It's not a divorce. But good one. Thomas Hughes said, Hank versus Baby Hayes. Who wins the gross fat joke at the Korean Olympics? I have Baby Hayes, but only because Hank has a sad backstory. I mean, Baby Hayes is the next generation, so to say. Dark Nile for 10 says, gotta love an oxymoron of being for free speech and wanting to move to China. Very interesting indeed. Beige Illuminati said for 5 says, not sure if this has been asked before, but how was Hank bankrolling him in the first place? Where was he getting his cash? His family, specifically his mother's side. So he talks about earlier in the stream how essentially the dad's side wasn't bankrolling him. So it's mom. Mom is very rich. Mom's from rich background. Once again, I don't think that's legally relevant. And also people need to leave his family alone. Please do not ever harass anybody's family of anybody I cover. It's not their fault. Don't go after them or say anything about them. Right. But that said, his family was bankrolling him, and clearly bankrolling him a lot because he was paying out over $20,000 to pay fees. Over $20,000. Do we get? I think we hit that point, but it was over $20,000 that he paid in legal fees. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Over $20,000 USD. Really nuts. Proxy 4818 says, a little late to chat, but Hank's tough guy talk is completely laughable, almost as much as RKI's own. I agree. Okay, Baked Buddhist for 5. Thank you. Hank Roach out for 40. Is that Indian Rupiah? Thank you. Hey, Andrew, how long will this K-drama end? I think that his saga, he may be like, his character may be fading out from this K-drama. Neko Girl said he called it a while ago and he said Hank wouldn't stay by his side and he would turn heel and run. And I think he's realizing there's not much in it for him. All the benefits of this are really not there. And it's a pure burden at this point. He is a pure burden and he's doing it out of friendship. He's doing it out of principle, but he's needing to make a separation now. And I think he is making a separation. You see that. Guyana Defense Force for 40 Thai baht. Siroy. CC says, seems like he won't be able to smash some Singhas. No, not like me. Not like me. Although I'm taking a little break after my birthday. I'm a little hungover after my birthday. Let's continue.
Right. Now, that's what you said in December of last year, that you want to move to China.
I do.
So how's it going now? It's been 8 months. When are you planning on actually going there? By what month, what year? And what kind of visa would you be going on?
I am expecting to go there around June 2026.
June 2026
Yes.
with a new degree or with what?
With I'm going for a master's course there. So
So you'll be going there as a student
yes,
in 2026. So you will be basically 33 years old when you go to China. Okay. So at the age of 33, you will move to China and
To
study.
be clear, he still has not done his mandatory service for the South Korean military.
the Masters of Mechanical Engineering.
Weren't you studying aerospace engineering, or are you
Yes.
still doing that?
I'm done.
You're done with aerospace engineering,
Yes,
and now you want to study. What was the other engineering
mechanical.
in 2026?
Yes.
So what are you studying now then? Since you already
Well-
finished aerospace,
Well, nothing.
nothing.
Working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
What do you like? Where do you work in an office or do
Tutoring.
Tutoring.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do OnlyFans or?
No.
That was a good follow-up. The OnlyFans was a very good follow-up question. I like that one. I like that one. Okay. I think that's about the relevance of this one. Okay. So that really was like the core legally relevant stuff. I mean, obviously, if he's going to China, right, he's going to have some problems with a student visa, particularly for a master's program, if he has a felony showing up. That being said, could he grease the wheels? Maybe he has connections there. If you have connections, like once again in the world, even in America, by the way, guys, we saw this with admission scandals in a lot of Ivy League schools. If you have connections, if you're on the elite of the elite, exceptions are made, right? Big donations are made and, things happen, right? So is it possible there'd be some greasing the wheels or whatever else there to get him into China again, the program? Sure. But I think that may end up being more costly now, especially since his reputation is out there. So that was just really a horrible part of getting involved in the Somali saga, is it damaged his own future, right? It damaged his own future. If he just had his problems in America and he'd said, hey, I haven't been doing anything bad for the last while, that's fine. But then all this stuff shows up, and universities care about their reputation, right? They do care about their reputation. So I'm very concerned for Hank that he's may not get in or may have problems. Who knows? Gamercrom says going to school is a way to avoid enlistment. Yes, that's one way. Space Duck says, do you think this was he was doing it because it was funny? I think he did. He thought it was a little bit like trolling, and then he realized it's not funny anymore when he's paying out so much. Cheetah Duck for $4.99 says, hey, Mindset, been watching you only a month. Love your input. In legal terms, could you explain why Hank and Somali are S-tier losers? I mean, Hank has his own issues. I mean, Hank has just personal issues he should have worked out on his own. But the problem is Somali preys upon people that are vulnerable. And in my opinion, Somali preyed upon Hank. In my opinion, Somali preyed upon Hank and Hank's principles. And once again, Somali has no principles. It's just whatever's convenient to him. So he took advantage of what Hank believed in to get this far. But, Hank considers himself his friend now. So they're kind of like bought in, right? Because there's so much opportunity cost where, Hank has spent 20,000 USD on Johnny Somali, at that point you're bought in, right? At that point you literally have bought the farm, because you paid so much money and you feel like, okay, well, I can't give up now because I gave this guy so much money, right? I gave him a massive amount of money. Gamercrom for 5 Legal Minds members. Thank you so much. Proxy 4818 says for 20. So let me get this straight. Hank supposedly studies multiple subjects and still has to rely on his parents. I wonder why. Well, once again, let's not pick on Hank here specifically. Okay, chat. Let me put it, and I'll put a poll in the chat because I know you guys, let's be honest with me. Do you know someone in their 30s who has never had a real full-time job? Yes or no? Do you guys know somebody in their 30s, I don't care if they're male, female, whatever, who has never had a full-time job, a real full-time job, not a fake job that their uncle made up, whatever, like a real job? Do you guys know somebody? Because I know somebody. Oh, I know somebody. I know people that are funded to go to school till their 40s. I literally knew somebody who was in a PhD program. They took multiple PhDs until they were 41 years old. And then finally like, well, I guess I'd find a job now. Right? This does happen. And once again, I'm not judging anybody. Listen, I want everybody to be happy, live your life. I'm not telling you what to do and not do, whatever. You guys live your own lives, but it's not as uncommon as you think. I think it's more common, maybe even getting more common. And 62% of you so far say, yes, I'll let it run for a while. But there's a lot of people that say, at least one person in that category, like at least one person. Hilka said sunk costs. Yep. James says, isn't homosexuality illegal in China? I think he identifies as a bisexual, not a homosexual. Just be clear. And once again, I have no problem with whatever Hank's personal sexual preferences are. That's his business. And it's really not legally relevant. It's really not objective, right? So that is what it is. But I mean, fair point from a legal standpoint. Although, once again, things can be illegal in a country and people do it. For the longest time, marijuana was illegal in America, but how many people were smoking marijuana in America when it was legal? Just because something is illegal does not necessarily mean that it is strictly enforced. Bronwyn says for $4.99, employers will see his social media and he'll never get hired. That's a problem. Or they'll just Google him or whatever. No Name says, if I was that guy, 30s, no job, that's why my life left. Oof, sorry about that, man. Sorry about that. That's rough. That's rough. Everybody hits tough patches. And look, I got a lot of empathy for people that hit a rough patch. Everyone's got them. I had rough patches and I'll probably have rough patches in the future, but the important thing is you dust yourself off, you pick yourself up and you keep going, life happens. Rough times happen. Pick yourself up, make a better version of yourself, and keep going. And that's possible for everybody, even for Hank, if he really tries, if he really commits himself to it. But he's got to commit himself to it. Norbert says homosexuality is legal in China. Oh, it is? Okay, I don't know. I actually don't know that one. I don't know the answer to that one. That's a good question. What I do know is Hank brought me up in this interview. Hank brought me up in this interview, and I was like, wait, what the hell? What the hell, folks? What's going on here? Why are you bringing me up, Hanky Poo? I didn't want to come in this. I don't want to do this with you, Hanky. So let's see how Hank brought me up in this interview here. We're going to have to scroll forward to about an hour and 38 minutes. So we're almost at the end. Now, he does mention me by name, right? But I'm very aware there are other people that were kind of involved and like he's threatened, and we'll talk about that. It's not just me, but he specifically brings up me several times. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Yes, and this is vital here.
Important than my rights.
Right. Okay. So, you're really big on free speech, right?
I'm really, really big on free speech.
Is it true that you were trying to sue others for their free speech? Like, were you trying to sue Legal Mindset? Somebody told me you were trying to sue him
for defamation. Yeah.
That's not free speech.
Well, I'm not criminally charging him.
It doesn't matter though, because defamation in Korea is both civil and criminal, right? And whether or not it's civil or criminal, in order to sue for it, you have to say that you don't believe that's free speech. If you're suing somebody for something, you're saying that's not free speech, right? because free speech is protected, including from civil lawsuits. This is why I think Hank has an incomplete understanding of what free speech is. And he doesn't understand the free speech process. He doesn't understand civil lawsuits, whether that's in Korea, America, anywhere else. If you're saying something that is protected speech, that's free speech. You can't sue for defamation in any country if it's free speech. Now, different countries define free speech differently. We've talked about this. There's a different standard for defamation in Korea than there is in the United States, or in other countries like Thailand, where I live, or Philippines, or somewhere else. There's different standards, right? But that is a huge contradiction there, buddy. It's a massive contradiction. But he doesn't stop there. This is great. This is perfect. Watch this.
Doing him. Money.
Wait, so you're free speech?
But if I can extract money out of him, yeah, hell yeah, nigga. But
So you admit that Legal Mindset, that guy has the right to say everything he says, but you see an opportunity to try and get some money, so you're like, fuck it, I need money or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm like, whatever. That guy's not pro free speech, so
that guy's not pro free speech. That guy's not pro free speech. By the way, he dropped an N-bomb on live. Sorry about that, guys. That's his N-bomb. I am extremely pro free speech. Anybody who knows me or watched my channel for 2 seconds knows I'm pro free speech. That is insane. What I am not is pro criminality. It's pro criminality. And me covering criminality and legal issues on the internet is 100% free speech. And anybody who has a problem with that is anti-free speech. That's literally silencing of free speech, right? So his failure to understand the core definition of what free speech is crazy. And I say all the time, people can say what they want to say on the internet. They can say on the one that they control people, Hank control people. Unless he crosses a criminal line, it's fine. But why can't people say things back? Because money? So you're going to go to the judge and say, because money. We're going to get into this in a second. It's lovely. It's lovely. Let's put this here.
Well,
Yeah. By the way, I heard a story that you were engaged. You claimed that you were engaged to a Germanic woman who was in the U.S. Marines but died of an illness.
Okay, that's the end of that part. So that's the thing. He says he's going to sue me. Now, of course, I have more information on this. He actually wants to come for others. So yeah, but by the way, that is Liberty Lawsuits and Lube, the Hank U Files KTSC episode 130. It's in the description. I also tagged the channel. So shout out to Countytown Social Club. They gave me a heads up of that. Did really great coverage. There's 3,000 of you watching. I think the video only had 2,000 or something views. So go over there, give the full video a view, give it a like, give it a comment, leave some comments there over it, and you can get all of that drama. So let's talk about this drama, guys, because obviously this is the thing. And I'll pull this up. I'll pull my PP back out because, of course, we need my PP right now. It's helping us all. So let's get some super chats though before I continue with this. Andrew, what have been the challenges for you keeping the story front and center? My impression is that Koreans are done with the streamer topic. They're not done with it. They just want there to be a punishment and move on. So once this sentencing happens, they're ready to the next thing, right? But they are still mad about this. I mean, Hank makes a comment during this that Koreans are over it. That's not true. They still very much get upset whenever they hear about this again. But however, they know the solution is in the courts now, and the courts are handling it, and the courts are going to deal with it appropriately. And once this message is sent to other streamers, they are probably not going to have this problem in the future. Patrick S. says, I know this is a Hank stream, but let's face it, Johnny is the real Krillin, always taking L's. That's true. And once again, what I'm trying to focus on here is only the things relevant to either lawsuits. So in this case, Hank is threatening a lawsuit. So I'm going to talk about Hank's lawsuit. It's legal, right? I'm trying not to talk about stuff that really isn't relevant, like all of his past history and what he wants to do in his private time. That's not legally relevant. It's not objective. And it's not what I want my channel to be, talking about that all the time. So yeah. But yes, Johnny is definitely still taking L's. Big Buddha says, we'll make sure you never have a rough patch again. Thank you, Big Buddhist. Scoobs is a new member. Thank you. Space Duck says, can you criminally charge someone in another country? Yeah, that's really difficult. That's really difficult. And even civilly, the procedure, especially recognizing foreign judgments, it's not easy, right? It's very difficult, extremely difficult. Yokai Watch Brave said he's coping so hard, it's pathetic. Yeah, it's maximum cope. Zuki says Hank should sue RKF for ruining his life. Bad News Batch says free speech allows you to say anything you want, but just as with anything else, it doesn't give you a free pass from the fallout. Exactly. You can say what you want, but there are consequences sometimes. You can't call somebody a criminal. That is defamation, even in the US, right? And in fact, if anybody, if anything, Hanks defamed me, right? Hanks defamed me far worse than I've ever said anything about him. Everything I said about him and report about him has been factual, and he's confirmed it. Norbert Froelich says, thank you. That's the max of a Hank interview I could take. And that's all that was relevant, ladies and gentlemen. That's all that was legally relevant. Now, that's not to say it wasn't a good interview. The interviewer did a great job, but I'm focusing on the legally relevant stuff, right? So let's talk about defamation, okay? So Hank confirms he desires to sue for defamation, but I want to be very clear with you guys and very honest. It's not just me. I would love to make this about me. It's not just me. He wants to sue Atozi. He wants to sue 15 Minutes. He wants to sue all the Korean streamers. And the Korean streamers are a little bit of a different case because they're in Korea. So obviously they would have jurisdiction. They would have venue. That's more clear. It's under Korean law. They're all Koreans. But he would lose against them too. And we're going to explain why. Even against the Koreans, he will lose. But, this American lawsuit or whatever the lawsuit he wants to bring, whatever Thai lawsuit, whatever he's going to try to sue, right? This is going to be, if not impossible, impractical. We're going to talk about why. But the big thing is he admits his motivation is monetary. All of this whole thing, all of this, he says his only motivation is money, right? The judge is going to hear that. Literally, anybody who he sues can take that clip that's a public video and can play that for the judge, and the judge would just laugh at him. By the way, guys, do not put caps in the chat, please. That is one of our chat rules. I love you guys, but don't do that. But the motivation being money, that pretty much would defeat a claim. Beyond that, he claims to believe in free speech, but doesn't even understand the concept and doesn't understand that because of free speech, lawsuits like Hank's are banned. Listen, if everybody who wanted money would sue and get money, what would happen? Everyone would just sue the richest people in America or in Korea or in every other country and just sue the rich and just automatically win all their money. That's not how it works. You can't just sue someone because you want money and get money. And I guarantee you right now, no cap. And I see right now, no caps. No caps. Because we don't cap here. We're not capping, to use the Gen Z lingo, right? Hank Yu is not getting a single won, US dollar, or Thai baht out of me. That guy is not getting 1 cent from a lawsuit. Now, if he wants to turn around and do a tell-all story on that, he wants to be a witness for the court against Johnny, well, then maybe there might be something coming his way, right? Maybe we could have a little thank you present for Hanky Poo if he becomes a state witness, if he turns state evidence, as they say, right? Well, that's different. If he does that, then maybe, but not from a lawsuit. You ain't getting a cent from anybody. Me, Atozi, 50. Nobody's getting you any money. It's not happening. William A. became a member. Welcome. Space Duck says, do you think Hank would start an OnlyFans if he meant more money? Well, he said he doesn't have one. You can't do it in Korea. He might try to do it from China, but that'd be even more interesting if he's running an OnlyFans from China. That might get him in some trouble with his visa. I'm just throwing that out there. Also, Father Bill Fox, welcome as a new member. Beyond that, I'm going to expand here on my previous expense. I previously defended against Hank's lawsuit with a PowerPoint, of course, a PP, where I explained why his lawsuit would fail. It would still fail, but I'm giving you more reasons. There's so many reasons why any defamation lawsuit would fail against me or anybody else. Here's why. It is impossible or impractical procedurally. So there are massive issues of standing and venue. Standing means, do you have a right to bring a claim? He may be able to do that in the US, maybe not through a proxy attorney. It depends. Maybe not, though. And in other countries, he probably has no standing. Beyond that, he's suing for something that he alleges happened to him in Korea. So it's like, well, okay, but they're not Korean citizens. Nobody there is a Korean resident. Atozi's not. I'm not. 15 Minutes not. Most of the people covering this that he's interested in going after, other than the Korean streamers, are not Korean residents. So it's inappropriate to bring a Korean lawsuit. And it's just not going to work. And beyond that, let's say you brought a U.S. lawsuit. Let's say he found enough money to do an international US lawsuit. We have something called anti-slap. And that's because we have freedom of speech in America that's very, very strong. And anti-slap is based on free speech principles. It comes out of the principle of free speech. SLAP is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. That's when someone sues you for something that is free speech. And the anti-SLAP laws provide a very inexpensive, almost free way to defeat a claim against you before it even goes to court. It doesn't even go to a motion to dismiss. It doesn't even go to a motion to dismiss. All of this would be defeated in a pre-trial anti-slap motion. And yes, my PP is slapping the anti-slap on him. Yes, yes. So you can say he got PP slapped, if you will, just to say, as a matter of speech. But anyways, those are just basic procedural impossibilities or impracticabilities. But beyond that, all the reporting that everybody has done, myself and everybody else done, has all been factual, and Hank just confirmed it. Hank just literally confirmed it. Hank said that everything you said is true. Okay, thanks, Hank. And not only that, he told us more. He gave us more. The other thing is there's no damages. The biggest thing you have to have is a reputation. If you have a bad reputation, you cannot sue. And I've talked to Korean lawyers about this, other people in Korea. If you have no reputation or a bad reputation, you can't sue. And there's no damages. You know why there's no damages? He's not working. He has no product. He has no business. He has no prospect. So what is the damage? What has he lost? He's lost nothing. His reputation was already in the dumps. So there's nothing to lose. So there's no damages. That's another reason why it's thrown out by itself. And last but not least, at this point, nobody, as far as I know, I mean, unless Grandpa Atozi is hiding a Hank lawsuit under his cap, which he might be, because I don't know what's under his cap. If you see Atozi's cap, it's kind of sketchy. I'm not going to lie. There might be something under there. But that said, unless old Grandpa's got one under his cap, I haven't heard of anybody being sued. So in this case, it's all talk. Most people that are going to sue, they just sue. They just sue. And then they talk about it. If they don't threaten or whatever, they just sue. By the way, I'm going to end the poll. 57% of you know somebody who's never had a job in their 30s, just like Hank. I mean, once again, tutoring part-time is not a full-time job. I'm sorry. It's not an occupation, right? So yes, that's, I mean, honestly, it's sad, but it's true. So nobody's been served. So serving means he's got to like bring the lawsuit and give it to somebody. Nope. And we haven't seen it. So it doesn't exist, in my opinion. So why is this the final chapter for Hank? Why did I entitle today Hank's final chapter? This is not to be, I'm not trying to be dramatic about this, but I want to say why I don't think I'm going to be covering much of Hank at all in the future. And you may not hear about him. And maybe some of you are going to miss him. Maybe some of you are going to be like, oh, you should cover, Hank said something on Twitter. Oh my God, you should cover it. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Well, here's why I really don't want to do that and why I think it's the final chapter, why it's bye-bye for him. To date, to our knowledge, Hank has not been indicted of a crime in Korea. He may be in the future. But right now, he's not under criminal indictment, as far as we know. If he is, we'll find out. He appears to be trying to separate from Somali. You saw his language. You saw his body language. And beyond that, he's already has a very specific 2026 Chinese exit plan. We're going to call it Chexit. Like Brexit, it's Chexit. It's Hank's Chexit plan. He's already got a plan. When you have a plan in mind, you typically are at the stage in which you're like, I'm going to do this, bro. Like if your case isn't wrapped up, I'm going. Like he can't put his life on pause for that long in Korea. And he's not going to put his life on pause for 2-3 years to wait for Johnny. In fact, he said, hey, I'm going next year. And if Johnny's in jail, he's in jail. That chapter of my life is behind me. Right. So he's already looking like that. And beyond that, he owes him 20,000 USD. Guys, remember when Hank was arguing over manwon? He was arguing over 10,000 won, which was like $7, which is like $7 or whatever. Right. He's arguing over nothing. Like it was, in fact, like $6 or something like that. It's nothing, like literally no money. $20,000 to a guy like Hank is a big deal. And I guarantee you that's hurt their relationship. And actually, he said, hey, I was supporting him, past tense. So that means he may not be supporting him anymore. He may say, hey, look, we're putting you up in this room and we're giving you this room and I'm done. And this is it. You get your own room, you get your own little cubby hole, and I'm done with you, right? We're cutting you off. Because that is probably a huge rift between the two. And last but not least, unless Hank is criminally indicted or he serves an official witness in the case of Johnny Somali, he is irrelevant legally. So in my mind, Hank is irrelevant legally, and therefore on this channel, I am going to treat it really as the final chapter of Hank, and I'm really not going to be bringing Hank up anymore unless there is something legally relevant, because I'm trying to focus in on all the topics, this topic, Ethan Klein topic, when I talk about digital ID, whatever, on the law, not the drama, although it'll come in a little bit, right? Because people will bring up super chats and I'm going to answer the super chat, whatever, but it's not really the focus of my channel. So I'm not trying to make it the Hank show. And to be honest, most people that have watched the Somali saga have said Hank is kind of stealing the show whenever he comes up. And there's no reason for that because he's not on trial. M gifted 10 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Yes.
James C. Beeching says Oscar Wilde found out to his cost, don't sue for slander if what the person says is actually true. And it would only be what we call a LOL suit, LOL suit, because it would just be a joke that would be thrown out of court. And actually it wouldn't make me money, because if he sues me or a Tozy or 15 Minutes or anybody else who's covering the Somali case, right? Anybody, so Zasmangol, whatever, right? Or Nux, right? Because he says, hey, Nux, I'm not 10,000% cooked. That's fake news, right? If he sues anybody on the internet, I'm going to cover it and make money. And I'm going to be laughing all the way to the bank. I'm going to be crying in the Lambo, right? So please do that, because it's just going to end up making the people that are on YouTube more money. That's how YouTube works, you know? Unhinged Valkyrie for 10 legal mindset memberships. Thank you very much.
Emotional damage.
Proxy says Hank should start a vasectomy fund for our guy if he wants anything out of a positive image. Oof. Norbert Frolic says Hank better not start an OnlyFans if he moves to China. The production and selling of explicit material is prohibited there. Anyone doing so maybe sits on life in prison. Why are you warning him? I mean, we're trying to help Hank out. Look, listen, guys, listen. If Hank can turn his life around, that's fine. I do feel bad he was traumatized as a kid. And I do believe some of that stuff. I do believe that a lot of that stuff he said is true. I genuinely believe him on that. And I do believe he went through some really bad stuff. And I do believe, look, going to jail is hard on anybody. And the guy did some time. And that was hard on him. Some weird stuff happened in jail. Watch the video. I'm not going to play it, but some weird stuff happened in jail that's going to mess with anybody's head, right? Michael for 10 says, OnlyFans officially banned in China. The ban was enacted mid-July 2025. A moral and degenerate Western culture. I mean, it's not wrong. It's really not wrong.
Degenerates. You guys degenerates.
Listen to the anime girl. Bronwyn for 5 said Hank should have caught some charges too. He should have. Okay, sure, but he hasn't. And I'm not going to keep stringing you guys along with promises that Hank is going to get charges, because he might well not. And frankly, guys, to be honest with you, he's well connected in Korea. So part of being well connected is keeping your family out of trouble, right? And I'm not saying anything untoward happened, but what I'm saying is, generally people say, okay, well, parents will take care of the kid. Okay, it's relatively minor stuff. Okay, blah, 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 let it go. Just like, for example, if you're a kid and your parents come out and the police caught you doing something you shouldn't have been doing, the cops will usually go away. I had that happen. I was firing some illegal fireworks in Miami. We bought them in South Carolina. They're the mortar types that shoot up in the air and explode. Those are illegal in Miami-Dade County. Cops caught me shooting those off when I was a kid. They came out. My dad was there, like, hey, listen, I'm gonna, take care of this. And my dad did punish me for that, right? And the cops let me off, right? That's sort of the situation here, except for I was a child then, but they may be treating Hank like they would a child, right? Space Duck for 2 says your PP is too epic for this universe. Thank you. My PPs are legendary. Regina Sharp for 10 says, do you think Hank would be calling him a not legally relevant to his defamation suit attempt? I mean, that's pretty harsh. Yeah, listen. I think it's not legally relevant that that he thinks and dreams about defamation. A lot of people dream about being astronauts and the president. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? Hank can dream about a defamation suit against me or a Tozy or anybody else. It's not going to happen, and it's not going to work. So once again, come at me, bro. But once again, better off if he saves his money, because he's going to need it trying to grease himself into China, to be completely honest. Okay. So did I get all the chats here? Did I get all the chats here? All right. Wow. I think we actually caught up here. Well, I think we did it for today, guys. Listen, I want to know what you guys think about this final chapter. I'm going to be back. I'll probably do a stream in a day or two. I'm trying to do 3 streams a week. That's my new schedule, and then rest fast facts. But if some big comes up, maybe 4 or so. So maybe tomorrow I'm going to have a little break on Sunday, be back on Monday. There'll be some fast facts for you, but stick around. Don't go anywhere. The fast facts version of this is going to be dropping. So check that out. Stay based and don't be coping.
You are coping the ceiling. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping the ceiling. The truth it is all day, and now you are more